The diplomatic vessel Endeavour drifted through the darkness of space, its hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, Ambassador Chen stood before the view screen, watching as the Caldreth warship approached. It was massive, 10 times the size of any human vessel, covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "They're hailing us," said Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. Her voice was steady, but Chen could hear the nervousness underneath. "Open the channel," Chen replied. The screen flickered to life. A figure appeared, tall and imposing, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its eyes were cold, calculating. This was High Commander Zarketh of the Caldreth Empire. "You are the representatives of Earth?" Zarketh's voice came through the translator, dripping with something that sounded like amusement. "I am Ambassador Chen of the United Earth Council. We come in peace, hoping to establish diplomatic relations and trade agreements that benefit both our peoples." Zarketh made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Peace, trade, how charmingly primitive." The commander leaned forward. "Your species achieved faster than light travel 50 of your years ago." 50 years. Do you understand how insignificant that is? The Caldreth Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. We control 847 star systems. Your entire civilization is nothing more than an infant taking its first steps. Chen felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm. "Every civilization must start somewhere, Commander. We believe that mutual cooperation... Cooperation?" Zarketh interrupted. "You misunderstand your position, human. The Caldreth Empire does not cooperate with species like yours. We rule them. You have established colonies in systems that fall within territory we claimed millennia before your ancestors learned to make fire. This is unacceptable. The galaxy is vast," Chen said carefully. "Surely there is room for all species to coexist. Room is not the issue. Order is the issue. The natural order of the universe places the strong above the weak, the advanced above the primitive, the eternal above the temporary." "What are you saying, Commander?" Zarketh's eyes narrowed. "I am saying that the Caldreth Empire will not tolerate your presence in systems that belong to us. You will surrender 3 of your colony worlds, New Horizon, Kepler Station, and Proxima Settlement. You will dismantle your military forces. You will submit to vassal status under our rule. You have 30 standard days to comply." The bridge of the Endeavour went silent. Chen could feel every eye on him. "And if we refuse? Then we will remove you. Your technology is laughable. Your weapons are chemical toys that children might play with. Your ships move through space like wounded animals. The Caldreth military could erase your species from existence in less time than it takes your sun to rise and set." Zarketh leaned back. "But we are not without mercy. Submit peacefully, and your people will be allowed to live as servants of the Empire. Refuse, and you will be remembered only as a cautionary tale for other primitives who forget their place." Chen took a deep breath. "I will relay your demands to my government. See that you do. And human?" Zarketh's expression became something that might have been a smile on a human face. It was not pleasant. "Your species is fascinating in one respect. You still die of old age. Your bodies fail after only a century or so. You are pets pretending to be apex predators. Remember this when you consider defying the Empire." The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Lieutenant Torres broke the silence. "Sir, what do we do?" Chen stared at the blank screen. "We go home. We deliver the message," he turned to face his crew. "And then we let Earth decide how to respond to threats and insults." The message reached Earth 3 days later. Within hours it had spread across every human colony, every station, every ship in space. The words of High Commander Zarketh were repeated on every news channel, every social media feed, every communication network. Pets pretending to be apex predators, chemical toys, primitives. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session in Geneva. Representatives from every nation, every colony, every major organization gathered in the Great Hall. The debate raged for 18 hours. Some argued for compliance. The Caldreth Empire was too powerful, too advanced. Humanity had only been in space for half a century. What chance did they have against a civilization 10,000 years old? Others argued for defiance. Humanity had not clawed its way to the stars only to bow before the first bully it encountered. If they surrendered now, they would be servants forever. In a secure room deep beneath the council chambers, Admiral Sarah Kowalski sat alone, reading through files that had not been opened in decades. Files marked with red warnings and classified seals. Files that detailed weapons and strategies from humanity's darkest period, the unification wars of the 22nd century, when humans had nearly destroyed themselves. She read about relativistic missiles that could crack planets, self-replicating war machines that consumed everything in their path, biological weapons that made radiation seem merciful, psychological warfare techniques that could break entire populations. These weapons had been locked away, banned by international treaty, hidden from public knowledge. The survivors of the unification wars had sworn that humanity would never use such horrors again. They had nearly destroyed themselves, learning how to kill each other efficiently. Admiral Kowalski closed the last file and sat back. She thought about High Commander Zarketh's words. Pets, primitives, chemical toys. She thought about humanity's history. The wars they had fought. The suffering they had endured. The impossible odds they had overcome again and again, from the savannas of Africa to the surface of Mars. The Kaldrith thought humanity was weak because they were young in space. They measured strength in years of star travel and numbers of conquered worlds. They had no idea what humans had survived to reach the stars in the first place. Admiral Kowalski reached for her communicator. This is Admiral Kowalski. Initiate legacy protocols. Authorization code Sierra Whiskey 77 Delta. Begin preparations. On the other end of the line there was a pause. Then, understood, Admiral. God help us all. God help them, Kowalski replied quietly. They just insulted a species that learned to wage war before they learned to make peace. They're about to discover why that matters. 15 days after the ultimatum, Ambassador Chen stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral station Harmony Point. Representatives from 47 species watched as he made Earth's case. The Kaldrith Empire has demanded that humanity surrender sovereign territory and submit to vassal status, Chen said, his voice echoing in the Great Chamber. We ask the Council to intervene on behalf of peace and justice. A being made of crystalline structures that communicated through light patterns flickered a response. The translator rendered it, the Kaldrith are a council member in good standing. Their territorial claims predate your species' space travel. The Council cannot interfere in legitimate boundary disputes. Legitimate? Chen felt his frustration rising. They're demanding we give up worlds where millions of humans live. They're threatening extinction. An aquatic species in a water-filled containment suit spoke next. Your species is very young, Ambassador. Perhaps vassalage would provide protection and guidance as you mature. Chen looked around the chamber. He saw sympathy in some faces, calculation in others, and fear in most. Nobody would help. They were all too afraid of the Kaldrith Empire. I see, Chen said quietly. Then humanity will provide its own answer. He walked out of the chamber without waiting to be dismissed. The message was delivered to High Commander Zarketh exactly 30 days after his ultimatum. Zarketh watched the recording with amusement. Ambassador Chen appeared on the screen, standing in what looked like a military command center. High Commander, Earth has received your demands. After careful consideration, humanity declines. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not dismantle our defenses. We will not submit to your rule. We suggest you reconsider your position. Zarketh laughed, a harsh sound that made his subordinates flinch. Reconsider? These primitives think they can threaten the Kaldrith Empire? He turned to his fleet commander. Assemble a punishment fleet. 200 ships. I want the colony world New Horizon reduced to rubble within the week. Leave enough survivors to spread word of what happens to species that defy us. As you command, High Commander. 6 days later, the Kaldrith fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Horizon system. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying a city with a single salvo. It was overwhelming force against a colony of only 3 million humans. Fleet Commander Sar then expected immediate surrender. Instead, his sensors detected only 12 human ships in orbit around New Horizon. 12 vessels against 200, are they insane? Sar then muttered. Open a channel. Offer them one chance to surrender. The human response was brief. Come and take it. Sar then ordered the attack. The human ships did not fight like the Kaldrith expected. They did not form proper battle lines or attempt to match firepower. Instead, they scattered like insects, moving in erratic patterns that made targeting difficult. They fired their missiles not at ships but at the empty space where ships would be, predicting movements with disturbing accuracy. 3 Kaldreth vessels took damage before they could adjust their tactics. Then 6, then 12. How are they doing this? Sarthan demanded. Their technology is inferior. Sir, we're detecting unusual activity on the planet's surface. The mining facilities, the factories, the orbital stations, they're all activating. Sarthan watched in disbelief as the colony itself became a weapon. Mining lasers meant for cutting asteroids swiveled to track his ships. Automated factories began launching swarms of crude missiles. Orbital cargo platforms detached from their docks and accelerated toward his fleet like giant kinetic weapons. This is insane. Those are civilian structures. A human vessel rammed one of his frigates, deliberately sacrificing itself to destroy the larger ship. Another human ship disabled its own safety systems and overloaded its reactor, turning itself into a bomb that took out 2 more Kaldreth vessels. They're killing themselves, his tactical officer shouted. They're using their own ships as weapons. More missiles came from the planet. These were different, smaller, faster, and they didn't target the ships directly. They targeted the communication arrays, the sensor clusters, the fire control systems. The Kaldreth fleet found itself partially blind and unable to coordinate effectively. Then the cyber attacks began. Human hackers had somehow infiltrated the Kaldreth tactical network. False orders appeared on screens. Targeting systems locked onto friendly vessels. Navigation computers reported incorrect positions. Fall back, Sarthan ordered. Get us out of range. But the humans pressed their attack. The remaining ships harried the Kaldreth fleet as it retreated, hitting and running, disappearing into the radiation shadows of the system's asteroid belt, then emerging to strike again. When the Kaldreth fleet finally jumped to faster-than-light speed, Sarthan counted his losses. 47 ships destroyed or too damaged to fight. Thousands of Kaldreth warriors dead, against 12 human vessels and a colony that should have been helpless. High Commander Zarketh reviewed the battle recordings with growing rage. They fight like animals, he spat. Like cornered rats willing to gnaw off their own limbs to survive. Sir, his intelligence officer said carefully, we've been analyzing their tactics. They used every resource available. Every advantage, no matter how small. Every sacrifice, no matter how costly. And they studied our battle formations, our response patterns. They learned our weaknesses in real time and exploited them. Are you saying these primitives outthought us? I'm saying they fought in ways we didn't anticipate. Ways that ignore conventional military doctrine. They don't fight to win glory or territory. They fight to survive. And they're very, very good at it. Zarketh slammed his fist on the console. Then we will show them that survival is not an option. Mobilize the full war fleet, 40% of our military forces. I want overwhelming superiority. I want to crush every human colony. Every human ship, every human outpost. We will exterminate them like the vermin they are. Sir, 40% of our forces. That's more than we committed to the Venturi War. More than we used to subjugate the Krill. Are you certain? I am certain that we cannot allow this insult to stand. If these primitives can defy us and survive, others will be encouraged to rebel. The entire order of the galaxy depends on the Kaldreth Empire maintaining absolute dominance. These humans will be an example. The last example anyone will need. The orders went out across the Empire. Thousands of ships began to mobilize. Soldiers prepared for deployment. War factories increased production. The Kaldreth Empire had not fought a full-scale war in 3 centuries. They had forgotten what war truly cost. They were about to remember, and they were about to learn that humans had never forgotten at all. 3 months into the war, the Kaldreth Empire controlled 15 human colonies. Their casualties exceeded 10,000 ships and 2 million soldiers. The numbers horrified the Kaldreth High Command. How is this possible? Emperor Kaldron demanded, staring at the casualty reports. We have superior numbers, superior technology, superior training. Yet every colony costs us dozens of ships, thousands of warriors. Some colonies fell only after months of fighting. Zarketh stood before the Emperor, trying to maintain his composure. The humans fight with methods we have never encountered. They do not accept defeat. When we destroy their military forces, their civilians pick up weapons. When we occupy their cities, every building becomes a fortress. Every citizen becomes a soldier. They hide bombs in children's toys. They poison water supplies. They sabotage our equipment while pretending to surrender. These are war crimes, the Emperor said coldly. Violations of every civilized code of warfare. They don't care. They call it total war. Every resource, every person, every tactic, everything is mobilized for victory. They have no concept of acceptable losses, no understanding of proportional response. They simply fight until they win or until they're dead. A Kaldrith scientist entered the chamber carrying a data tablet. "My Emperor, you asked for a biological analysis of the humans. The results are disturbing. Explain." The scientist activated a holographic display showing Earth. The human homeworld is classified as a Class 4 death world. The gravity is 30% higher than Kaldrith standard. The planet experiences extreme weather: hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. The surface is covered with predatory life forms. Their evolutionary history is one of constant violence. Many species evolve through competition, the Emperor said. Not like this. Humans are persistence predators. On their homeworld, they hunted prey by following it for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They evolved to simply not give up. Their neurological structure reinforces this behavior. When facing impossible odds, most species feel despair. Humans feel determination. When logically defeated, most species surrender. Humans fight harder. The scientist changed the display to show human anatomy. Their biology is remarkable. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. They can function with massive tissue damage. They can continue fighting even with multiple broken bones. They have redundant systems throughout their bodies. They heal remarkably fast, and they have something we've never encountered before: adrenaline surges that allow them to perform beyond their normal physical limits when threatened. You're saying they're natural warriors, Zarketh said quietly. I'm saying they're evolved to survive conditions that would destroy most species. Everything about them, their biology, their psychology, their culture, has been shaped by constant struggle. They've been fighting since before they had language, fighting predators, fighting the environment, fighting disease, fighting each other. The Emperor leaned forward. You said their planet is covered with predatory life. What did they do to those predators? They killed them. They hunted most large predators to extinction. The ones that survived learned to fear humans. On Earth, humans are the apex predator. They're at the top of their food chain. And we insulted them, the Emperor said softly. We called them pets. Yes, my Emperor. A military commander entered the chamber. My Emperor, we have intelligence from one of the captured human colonies. The humans are activating something they call legacy protocols. We don't know what that means, but our intelligence suggests it involves weapon systems they had previously deactivated. Admiral Kowalski stood in a bunker deep beneath Earth's surface, watching as technicians worked on systems that had been dormant for decades. Around her, the greatest military minds of humanity gathered. The legacy protocols are active, she announced. We're unsealing the weapons we swore we'd never use again. On the screens behind her, images appeared. Missiles capable of accelerating to near light speed, carrying warheads that could shatter continents, self-replicating machines that could consume entire fleets, breaking them down for raw materials to build more machines, biological agents designed to target specific genetic markers, mimetic weapons, information patterns designed to drive enemy commanders insane, quantum entanglement bombs that could devastate multiple locations simultaneously. These weapons nearly destroyed us, General Martinez said quietly. During the Unification Wars, we came within hours of making Earth uninhabitable. We banned these horrors for good reason. I know, Kowalski replied, but the Kaldrith gave us a choice. Use these weapons or face extinction. I choose survival. The Kaldrith think we're primitives because our technology seems less advanced, she continued. They don't understand that we deliberately limited ourselves. We stopped developing certain weapons not because we couldn't make them, but because we knew how dangerous they were. We learned that lesson by nearly killing ourselves. When do we deploy? Asked Admiral Chen, the ambassador's brother and commander of the Third Fleet. Immediately. Strike teams are already in position. The Kaldrith are about to learn what human weapons can really do. The first attack hit a Kaldrith supply depot. A single human ship appeared, launched a missile, and vanished. The missile carried a von Neumann payload, microscopic machines that began consuming the depot's materials, replicating themselves exponentially. Within hours, the entire facility was gone, converted into a swarm of machines that drifted through space, waiting for the next target. The second attack targeted a Kaldrith command ship. The humans used a mimetic weapon, a broadcast that contained patterns specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Kaldrith neural processing. 300 Kaldrith officers went insane within minutes, turning on their own crews before the ship's systems could be purged. The third attack demonstrated humanity's willingness to sacrifice. A human fleet deliberately lured a Kaldrith armada into a trap, then activated a weapon that collapsed local spacetime. Both fleets were destroyed instantly. The humans had sacrificed 500 ships and 50,000 personnel to eliminate twice as many enemy vessels. The message was clear. Humans would pay any price to win. Within weeks, the tide of the war began to shift. Human fleets started reclaiming lost colonies. Kaldrith supply lines came under constant attack. The Empire's military found itself stretched thin, fighting an enemy that refused to follow any rules. In the Kaldrith Senate, debate raged. Some demanded total commitment, unleash the full might of the Empire to crush these upstarts. Others argued for negotiation. The war was bleeding the Empire dry and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. They're primitives, Zarketh shouted during one heated session. 50 years in space. How can they be winning? A senator stood, her voice cold. Perhaps because time and space doesn't measure what matters. These humans spent thousands of years learning to kill each other. They're masters of warfare because war is all they've ever known. We ruled the stars in peace. They clawed their way through blood. Then what do you suggest? The Emperor demanded. I suggest we reconsider who is truly the primitive civilization here. The humans tried to offer us peace. We responded with threats and insults. We assumed superiority based on age and technology. We forgot that the most dangerous predators are often the ones that look weakest. Zarketh's face darkened. We cannot show weakness. If we negotiate now. If we don't, the senator interrupted, we may not survive to regret it. But Zarketh had already made his decision. If he could not defeat humanity through conventional means, he would eliminate them entirely. The Empire possessed a weapon that had never been used, something so terrible that its very existence was kept secret. The Star Killer. A device that could destabilize a sun, causing it to go supernova. Zarketh would take it to Earth's system personally. He would end this war by destroying humanity's homeworld and everyone on it. The humans would learn the price of defying the Kaldrith Empire. Or so he thought. 8 months into the war, humanity broadcast a message across all Kaldrith space. Every ship, every station, every settlement received it. Admiral Kowalski's face appeared on screens throughout the Empire. People of the Kaldrith Empire, she began, her voice steady and cold. Your leaders believe they're the first to threaten humanity with extinction. They're wrong. Behind her, images appeared. Cities in ruins, landscapes scorched and lifeless. Oceans turned to poison, Earth during the Unification Wars. In the 22nd century, humanity nearly destroyed itself. We developed weapons so terrible that they could end all life on our planet. We used them. Billions died. Our homeworld became a graveyard. We learned what it means to face total annihilation. The images changed to show weapon systems activating, factories producing war machines, soldiers marching. But we survived. We rebuilt, and we made a promise. Never again would we use those weapons on ourselves. We locked them away. We banned them. We tried to forget them. Your leaders forced us to remember. Kowalski's expression hardened. You think you're the first to threaten our extinction? We've already survived ourselves. We know how to kill a civilization because we nearly killed our own. We understand destruction at a level you can't imagine. The difference is, we learned to stop ourselves. We won't stop with you. The screen showed footage from recent battles. Human weapons that dissolved Kaldrith ships at the molecular level. Machines that consumed fleets and reproduced endlessly. Biological agents that made Kaldrith soldiers collapse. Psychological warfare that drove commanders mad. These are the weapons of a species that learned warfare from fighting itself. We didn't develop these to conquer others. We developed them to survive each other. And now you've given us reason to use them again. The message ended with a simple statement. Surrender now, or learn why humanity's greatest enemy has always been humanity itself. In the Kaldrith capital, panic spread. The Senate convened an emergency session. Intelligence reports confirmed everything the human admiral had said. Earth's history was a nightmare of warfare, genocide, and near-extinction events. The humans had fought wars that killed hundreds of millions. They had developed weapons that made Kaldrith armaments look gentle. "They're insane," one senator whispered. "What kind of species nearly destroys itself and then continues to develop more efficient ways to kill?" A xenopsychologist stood to address the Senate. A species that evolved on a death world, surrounded by predators with limited resources and constant threats. They learned that the only way to survive was to be more dangerous than anything else. They became specialists in violence not because they wanted to, but because anything less meant extinction. "But surely they must value peace," another senator argued. "They offered us peace initially. They value survival above all else. Peace is preferable because it costs less. But if they must choose between peace and survival, they will always choose survival, and they're very, very good at surviving." The emperor listened in silence. Finally, he spoke. "How do we defeat them?" "My emperor," the xenopsychologist said carefully, "I don't believe we can. Not militarily. Every strategy we employ, they counter. Every weapon we use, they match. They're willing to sacrifice more than we are. They're more creative with limited resources, and they have something we lack. They've spent their entire existence preparing for this kind of fight." "That's unacceptable," Zarketh snarled. "We are the Kaldrith Empire. We've ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. And in those 10,000 years, we've rarely fought true wars. We conquered through superiority and intimidation. The humans have been fighting total wars for their entire history. Every generation has known warfare. It's in their culture, their psychology, their very identity." The debate continued for hours, but no consensus emerged. The Hawks wanted to commit everything to crushing humanity. The Doves wanted to negotiate before the Empire bled to death. The moderates were paralyzed by indecision. Meanwhile, human forces pressed their advantage. Kaldrith colonies began to fall. Supply lines collapsed under constant raids. The Empire's military found itself losing ground it had held for centuries. Other species watched with growing interest. The mighty Kaldrith Empire, brought to its knees by newcomers who had been in space for barely 50 years. Whispers spread through the galaxy. Perhaps the Kaldrith weren't invincible after all. Some species began secretly supporting humanity. Supplies appeared at human outposts with no explanation. Intelligence about Kaldrith movements leaked to human forces. Trade routes opened up. The Empire's grip on the galaxy was weakening, and everyone could see it. In a secret bunker, Zarketh made his final preparations. The Starkiller was ready. The device that could destroy Earth's sun and everyone in the system. It was the Empire's most closely guarded secret, a weapon so terrible they had never used it even against their most hated enemies. But Zarketh was desperate. His reputation was destroyed. The Empire was losing. His own people questioned his leadership. He needed a victory so absolute, so final, that no one would ever question Kaldrith's supremacy again. He would take a small fleet, jump to Earth's system and activate the Starkiller before the humans could respond. Earth would burn. Humanity's homeworld would become ash, and the galaxy would remember what happened to species that defied the Empire. "My commander," his second officer said quietly, "are you certain this is wise? If we destroy their homeworld—" "It ends the war," Zarketh interrupted. "Without Earth, the human colonies will collapse. They'll have no center, no government, no coordination. They'll be easy to eliminate. But the cost of continuing this war is higher. We've lost more ships in 8 months than in the last century. Our economy is strained. Our people are afraid. This ends it, quickly, permanently." The officer said nothing more. Zarketh's fleet prepared to depart, but humanity had anticipated this move. Deep in the Sol system, Admiral Kowalski reviewed her own plans. Every human warship had returned to Earth's system. Every defense platform was active. Every weapon was armed. And buried in Earth's moon was humanity's own doomsday device, something even more terrible than the Starkiller. A weapon that could create artificial wormholes and direct them at enemy star systems. If Earth fell, so would the Kaldrith homeworld. Mutually assured destruction. "They think they're the only ones willing to destroy worlds," Kowalski said quietly to her staff. "They're about to learn that humans wrote the book on it. On Earth, 8 billion people waited. They knew what was coming. They knew the Kaldrith would try to destroy their homeworld. They knew they might all die. But they also knew that if they fell, they would take the Empire with them. Humanity had faced extinction before. They had stared into the abyss and survived. They would do it again, or they would make sure the Kaldrith remembered them forever. In the darkness of space, 2 fleets prepared for the final battle. Both were willing to destroy everything to win. Both understood that this war would end with either total victory or total annihilation. Neither side would back down. Neither side could afford to lose. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and the galaxy watched to see which species would prove more willing to embrace the darkness. The answer would reshape the stars forever. 14 months after High Commander Zarketh delivered his ultimatum, his fleet emerged at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 warships surrounded the massive vessel carrying the Starkiller. It was the most powerful force the Kaldrith Empire had ever assembled in one place. "Begin scanning," Zarketh ordered. His sensors reached across the system, searching for human defenses. What they found made his blood run cold. Every human warship in existence had gathered around Earth. Thousands of vessels, from massive dreadnoughts to tiny fighters. Every defense platform was active. Every satellite was armed. Even civilian ships had been equipped with weapons. And scattered throughout the system were strange devices the sensors couldn't identify. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "we're detecting at least 4,000 human vessels. And something else. Massive power signatures on Earth's moon and several large asteroids." Unknown purpose, Zarketh stared at the display. The humans had turned their entire home system into a fortress. This wasn't a colony they could afford to lose. This was their homeworld, the cradle of their species, and they had brought everything to defend it. "They knew we were coming," he said quietly. "Sir, we're being hailed." Admiral Kowalski's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, the command center buzzed with activity. "High Commander Zarketh, we've been waiting for you. You cannot win this battle, Admiral. I have brought enough force to destroy every ship in this system 10 times over. And I carry a weapon that will end this war permanently." "The Starkiller," Kowalski said calmly. "Yes, we know about it. Our intelligence is quite good. You plan to destabilize our sun and kill everyone in this system." She leaned forward. "But I wonder if you know about our weapon." Zarketh felt a chill run through him. "What weapon?" The display changed to show the massive installation on Earth's moon. "We call it the Cascade device. It creates artificial wormholes and directs them at predetermined coordinates. It's already locked onto your homeworld, Kaldron Prime. If Earth dies, your homeworld dies with it. Every Kaldrith civilian, every city, every monument to your 10,000-year empire, gone. You're bluffing. Test me." Kowalski's eyes were hard. "You started this war with threats and insults. You called us primitives, pets. You demanded our surrender. We tried peace and you responded with violence. Now we're giving you a choice. Leave our system and negotiate, or we both die here. Mutually assured destruction. It's a concept we're very familiar with." Zarketh looked at his tactical displays. The human fleet was positioned perfectly. If he tried to activate the Starkiller, they would attack immediately. His ships would fight, but the humans would die gladly to stop him. And even if he succeeded, even if he destroyed Earth's sun, the Cascade device would activate and his own homeworld would burn. He thought about his Emperor's orders, about the Empire's reputation, about 10,000 years of dominance, and he realized with terrible clarity that none of it mattered. The humans had called his bluff. They were willing to die and take the Empire with them. "You're insane," he whispered. "No," Kowalski replied. "We're survivors. We faced extinction before and refused to accept it. We'll do it again if necessary, but we prefer peace. Stand down, Commander. Go home, talk to your Emperor. Tell him that this war cannot be won." For a long moment, silence filled the channel. Zarketh's officers waited for orders. His hand hovered over the control that would activate the Starkiller. One button, one press, and both civilizations would end. He thought about the intelligence reports, about human history, about a species that had faced nuclear annihilation and survived, about wars that killed billions, about weapons that could crack planets, about a culture that had learned to embrace apocalypse as a negotiating tactic. The humans weren't bluffing. They would do it. They would kill themselves and take the Empire with them, and they wouldn't hesitate. Zarketh lowered his hand. "All ships stand down." "We're withdrawing, sir," his tactical officer gasped. "We can still," I said, "stand down." "That's an order." The Kaldrith fleet began to retreat. Slowly, carefully, they backed away from Earth's system. The human fleet tracked them but didn't fire. They simply watched as the mighty Kaldrith Empire, for the first time in recorded history, withdrew from a battle. Zarketh opened a channel. "Admiral, we will discuss terms." "Peace terms," Kowalski corrected. "Not surrender. Not vassalage. Peace between equals." It took 3 months to negotiate the final treaty. The Kaldrith Empire agreed to recognize human territory, pay reparations for the colonies they had damaged, and dismantle their offensive fleets by 40%. In return, humanity agreed not to expand into Kaldrith space and to share certain technologies that would help rebuild what the war had destroyed. The day the treaty was signed, Emperor Calderon called for Zarketh. The High Commander entered the throne room expecting execution. "You failed," the Emperor said simply. "Yes, my Emperor. You brought the Empire to the brink of destruction. You underestimated our enemy. You insulted them, then made them angry enough to unleash weapons we couldn't match." The Emperor stood. "You will be executed for your failures. But before you die, answer me one question. What did we learn from this war?" Zarketh thought carefully. "We learned that age does not equal wisdom. Technology does not equal strength. And the most dangerous enemies are not the ones who look powerful. They are the ones who have survived impossible circumstances and refuse to give up." The Emperor nodded slowly. "The humans tried to offer us peace. We responded with contempt. We measured them by standards that meant nothing: years in space, number of worlds, advancement of technology. We forgot to ask the important questions. What had they survived? What had they overcome? What made them who they are?" "They climbed to the top of their food chain on a death world," Zarketh said. "They survived themselves when they nearly destroyed their own species. They learned to embrace apocalypse as a tool. We never stood a chance." "Execute him," the Emperor ordered the guards. Then he turned to his Senate. "Let this be remembered. The Kaldrith Empire is strong, but we are not invincible. We must never again underestimate an opponent based on appearances. The humans taught us humility. It was an expensive lesson. On Earth, celebrations filled the streets. Humanity had survived. They had stood against an empire 10,000 years old and forced it to blink first. But Admiral Kowalski didn't celebrate. She stood in a memorial hall looking at the names of the dead. Millions of humans had died in the war. Dozens of colonies had been damaged or destroyed. The cost had been terrible. Ambassador Chen found her there. "We won," he said quietly. "We survived," she corrected. "That's not the same thing as winning. The galaxy knows now. Humanity is not to be trifled with." "Yes, and that knowledge will shape everything going forward." She turned to face him. "We didn't want this war. We wanted neighbors, trade partners, friends. But they forced us to show them what we're capable of. Now the galaxy knows what humans can do when threatened. I hope that prevents future wars. But I fear it might start others." Chen nodded. "We'll face that when it comes. For now we rebuild, we honor our dead, and we make sure the galaxy knows that we prefer peace but we're prepared for war." 1 year later, Ambassador Chen addressed the Galactic Council. This time every species listened with respect. Earth had been granted a full council seat. The human delegation entered the chamber as equals, not as primitives begging for scraps. "Representatives of the galaxy," Chen began. "Humanity comes before you not to threaten but to offer partnership. We have shown what we're capable of in war. Now we wish to show what we can contribute in peace. We bring technologies, ideas, and perspectives shaped by our unique history. We have survived things that would destroy most species. We've learned from our mistakes. And we're ready to help others survive the challenges of the universe." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But let there be no misunderstanding. We will defend ourselves. We will defend our allies, and we will not tolerate aggression." The Kaldrith learned this truth. Humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our numbers. It's our refusal to surrender, our ability to endure the impossible, our willingness to sacrifice everything for survival. We hope you'll accept us as friends. But if you choose to make us enemies, remember this. We come from a world that tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived it. We come from a species that nearly destroyed itself. We survived that too. Whatever you bring against us, we will find a way to survive it. Because survival is what humans do best. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some species offered immediate alliance. Others remained cautious. But all of them understood the message. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the galaxy would never be the same. In a military academy on Mars, Young cadets learned their first lesson in a classroom overlooking the rust-colored landscape. Their instructor, a veteran of the HFY War, stood before them. "What is the first rule of human warfare?" she asked. A cadet raised her hand. "Peace is our hope." "Good, and the second rule?" Another cadet answered. "If we must fight, we fight to win." The instructor nodded. "Remember this. Other species may be older, more advanced, more powerful, but they didn't evolve on Earth. They didn't claw their way up from the bottom of the food chain. They didn't survive what we survived to reach the stars. That history made us what we are, a species that prefers peace but excels at war. A species that values life but understands death. A species that hopes for the best but prepares for the worst." She looked at each cadet in turn. "You are the future of humanity. You will carry us forward into the galaxy. Make peace when you can. Make friends. Build alliances. But never forget, if someone threatens our survival, show them why humans have always been survivors. Show them why challenging us is the last mistake they'll ever make." Outside, the sun set over the Martian landscape, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars. The galaxy had learned to respect them, fear them, and perhaps in time call them friends. The Empire had insulted Earth. They had learned why they should have known better. And the galaxy would remember the lesson for 10,000 years to come.